Hold up.
Yo, I want to thank y'all for coming back, man. I know we've been off for a very long time, dog. We've been taking I can't even call it a short hiatus. We've been taking a for real hiatus, but we back in the building, man. You already know what it is, man. It's notes from the Negro section. In case you don't know, because we've been going so long, this is a roundtable discussion about some of the most detrimental issues that's plaguing the black community right now, before, right now, and in the future. All right, we're going to talk about all that stuff. But today we got something special for you. Unfortunately, there's only two of us here, but it's all good. We gonna hold it down. I got my man Bo in the building.
Hey, what up, dog?
For sure, man. Of course, your boy Q.Lewis is in the building, man. We holding it down for the rest of the squad, dog. But we'll all be back at some point. But right now we gonna hold it down. Today, though, man, we just gotta jump back into things, dog. And what we gotta talk about, though, in case you're not familiar, this only happened a few days ago. All right, so. Down in the suburbs of Chicago, I guess we'll call it the suburbs because it's about 20 miles south of Chicago. We got a security guard who was trying to do his job, happened to be a black guy, of course, Jamel Roberson, all right, 26 years old. Right now, not only is he a security guard, also he was a musician at some area churches, all right? I just want to throw that out there because I know whenever we start talking about black people being killed by the police, the first thing they want to do is talk about all the negative things, pulling up old Facebook posts and showing them, you know, raising their fingers or with guns in the in the photos and stuff. But right now we're talking about a dude who's a musician at a church. He's a pillar in the community. You know what I'm saying? Like, he actually doing something good at 26. To be honest with you, I know there's a lot of 26-year-olds out here not really doing what they're supposed to do, but this dude was on the straight and narrow. And he was actually a security guard. And what happened basically was at this bar. I'm not sure what transpired before. I think it was some kind of fight or something. And dudes was in there trying to, like, basically, I ain't gonna call it a riot, but it was a straight up bar fight. So he had to break the fight up. He had the one perp on the ground, had him subdued, had his gun on him. Now he's security, right? Security with a gun. So he pulled the gun on the dude, held him down until the police got there. Sounds like that makes sense, right? I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. You're security. You hold down the assailant until the real police get there. Sounds logical. So then he does all that. The police get there, and while somebody actually said, now this is a witness who told WGN, which is a station in Chicago, told them that they were all screaming that he's the security, don't shoot him. And they shot him anyway. So that's what we're talking about today, man. We're talking about being black in America, obviously. But when are you actually not scared for your life when confronted by the police? Like, even when you are actually on their side, you're doing their job, and you should still be in fear of your life. So we're going to talk about that, man. Blessings and prayers out to Jamel Roberson's family, dog, and everybody who had to deal with this right now. But, Bo, I got to ask you, man, like, especially being in the armed forces, like, how does it make you feel when you are a part of, you're a part of the protect and serve? And security guards not necessarily like, they're not the police, but they are protecting and serving whatever community that they, that they're serving in right there. So how does it make you feel like being in a situation like that and still have to fear for your life from the police,
It made me feel pissed off, man, straight up. Like, yeah. You look at the situation, you're like, all right, I make, like for me, for example, you go into the military, you make some moves, do what you need to do professionally and whatnot to get yourself ahead. And, right. Not only that, you're serving the community, the society, the country, whatever you want to call it. And then right. off a GP, you just get, you get shot in the ass for no reason, right? After you trying to break
exactly.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, like literally.
Yeah. Like, the shit made me mad, man. Like, because I can understand, police officers, I can understand them, being very cautious and things like that. Like, I get that. But what don't make sense to me, and I think I told y'all this before, man, it's like in the military, if we make a mistake like that, we going to jail off tops. We already know that shit happening. Like they tell you that shit. You are going to jail if you do some dumb shit like that, right? And,
accountability.
Yeah. And this is like cats in other countries. Like this is somebody that we at war with. If we do some dumb shit like that against somebody the enemy, we going to jail. You know?
Exactly.
And this dude's a citizen. Not only is he a citizen, he helping out, and he get shot in the ass and killed. And more than likely, ain't shit gonna happen because that's been like the status quo. You know, ain't shit happening from these cops. Since it's been just, I mean, yeah, you got your, you know, a couple things here and there when they bring charges. These cats get, you know, indicted and they get arraigned and they get sentenced and shit like that. But that's not the norm, man. You know, so that shit made me mad, bro. You know.
Yeah, I mean, and it can't do nothing but make you mad. And I just figure it may be even a little closer to you just because of the military background to just be a part of an overall society where, you know, basically, like I said before, is the protect and serve, you know, community. And you feel like you're a part of that. So like when you were a part of that, it seemed like, this is probably dumb to say, but you would feel like you are excluded from that stereotype. It would feel like if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing at the establishment that's paying me to secure their establishment, I feel like I should be excluded from that, you know, that kind of police reaction. But the fact remains, though, I think the most important part of this story, though, is unfortunately that it was 20 miles south of Chicago. And I think that there's an unspoken fear about the young black males in Chicago. And when they appear to be in areas where, I guess lack of a better word, they don't belong, then the narrative is so different that it makes everybody react different. But I guess I'm curious. If you're the police and you come in and you got a dude that's got somebody held down with a security vest on, it said security. Like, how do you make that fucking mistake? Seriously, though. Like, I don't even get it.
I mean, not only that, you got all the witnesses around, all the people, bystanders. Hey, he's the good guy. Hey, security. Hey, no, he the wrong dude. No, you know what I mean? And they shoot his mother, and they shoot and kill him anyway.
Right.
So, like, police officer, yeah, they got a tough job. They got a hard job. I get that. You know what I mean?
They do.
And that job come with some risk. That job come with a lot of risk, bro. You know? Yeah. So, like, if you go into the situation scared every freaking time you answer to a call or something like that, I mean, obviously,
something will happen like that.
Yeah, the training or how we vetting these dudes or whatever it is not right. You know?
Right.
Like, I get it. You go in a situation, you know, it's human nature to be scared in a situation like that, but not so scared that, like, I mean, the first thing you see in your first reaction is not, hey, freeze, put your hands up, nothing like that. Your first reaction is to shoot and kill somebody, like straight up off top.
Right.
Come on.
Exactly. Man. Yeah, I really don't see where that can be rationalized. Like like you said, it's probably nothing gonna come out of that. You know what I'm saying? But it's just the thing though is that you got whatever training that you know get or supposed to get. Like you said, there could be any kind of adrenaline or even fear. I mean, we can even call it fear. But at some point, your training is supposed to supersede that, though. I mean, it's kind of like football, right? So, you know, like you go over plays over and over and over. You know how to react. You know what to do in certain situations. And sometimes the adrenaline or maybe even the fear can overtake you. But that practice, that training is supposed to get you in the position where you're supposed to be. I mean, it's just like football. So it's like if you're in law enforcement, then that training should help you overcome that fear a little bit anyway. But then again, just like you said too, just to kind of equate this to like regular, again, like I'm gonna dumb it down to equate this to regular hood shit. It's the same thing as people who commit crimes, sell dope, you know, those kind of things. I feel like at the end of the day, when stuff happens to people in that life, I always feel like, damn, it's fucked up. But I always think in my head, you made those decisions, you kind of signed up for that shit. Like you knew that it was a possibility that it could happen. I think that's the same thing, unfortunately, for police officers. You know what happened when you signed up at the academy, that you might die doing this shit. Like you signed up for it. This is just like, to me, that's the way I look at it. And I know that I ain't that brave. You know what I'm saying? I really ain't. I'm not trying to lose my life to protect somebody else's. Like, so I know I couldn't be the police. So some people really need to make that you know, they need to make that decision before they even go to the academy and realize that maybe you're just not cut out for this. Like, I don't really know no other way to put it, but I think that's kind of what it boiled down to. And something that D.L. Hughley said previously, and he always said, and I think this is so true, man. It's like the most dangerous place for a black man is inside a white person's mind, because their assumption or their perception of who they think you are is what causes all this shit to happen.
Right. And you know, you bring up a good point when you say, you know, it was like you say it's like football, you know, and your training kick in, and that's, you know, so like, you know, in the military, there's times where, you know, you rep something so many different times, so many times that you know, become like muscle memory. Your training kick in, right? Exactly. So that leads me to ask, like, what are these motherfuckers being trained? Because this shit is happening all the time, right?
Exactly. Right.
So, so you know what? They training might be kicking in. This might be what they trained to do.
This might be their training,
man. You know, because they're gonna say, you know, hey, it's better to be, you know, carried off in handcuffs than carried off by 6 people in a box, right? I mean, I
never even thought about it like that.
Yeah, it makes me really wonder, like, what are they being trained? Like, what's being taught in the academy? Like, you know, like from the foundational standpoint. Because, I mean, this shit happens all this. Yeah. I mean, I get it. D.L. Hughley is right. You know, and people see black dudes and whatnot, and they automatically think the worst. You know, especially if you're being a cop and you responding to a situation or whatnot.
Exactly.
But, like, you're supposed to fall back on that training and all those certifications and going to the range, putting all those hours in and learning how to de-escalate the situation and things like that.
Right.
But then it makes me wonder, just, is that shit really being taught? Or if it's being taught, I mean, is it really being adhered to, you know? I don't think so.
Right. Or like you said, maybe they are falling back on the training, and that is what the training is.
It might be.
That would be crazy, though. How crazy would that be, though, to learn that they are actually being trained these things that's happening right now? Now, that shit would be monumental. Like, that shit would change the whole game, for real.
Because, you know, I think about one thing, right? Like, the thing that makes me think about this is the way they're being trained. Because, like, when you go to when you go to the range, you know, you go to shoot, you go to qualify and all that stuff. One of the basic fundamental things they teach you is to shoot center mass. All right. So center mass means like middle of the chest, you know, because that's, you know, it's hard to miss there. Right.
Right.
So, you know, you hear people talk, you know, you hear them talk about, well, why didn't they shoot them in the arm? Or why did they shoot them in the leg? Or why didn't they shoot the main? And things like, because they're not trained to do that. You know, they're trained to shoot the kill. So they're not trained to shoot the wound. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I think that us being on this podcast right now, we definitely won't be able to come up with an answer to why this happens. And then you start thinking, okay, if we can't figure out why it's happening, then we can at least figure out how to avoid it. But then you get a situation like this where it don't even seem like it should be a situation. Like, this is a young man doing a job that he obviously wanted to do because they said that he was preparing to embark on a career as a police officer. He wanted to be the police. First of all, let me say this. The relationship between the police and the black community is subpar at best. Like, it's pretty much been destroyed. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you got a 26-year-old, a millennial, who is really considering being the police, there's a glimmer of hope. You know, like, there's a glimmer of hope somewhere that people in that age bracket don't think that the police are completely against them, especially being from the Chicago area. Like, they gotta kind of feel like, you know, that the police are against them, not only because they black, but because of all the gang activity that's going on. It's kind of hard to avoid the police. So you got somebody in that age bracket that's from that area that's still willing to be the police, and then you see a story like this. What do you think that's going to do to the already faltering relationship between the two? I think that's the main problem, and that the relationship between the black community and the police is so brittle at this point that all of these little situations like this, or big situations rather like this, is just, they're not doing that but making it worse. So like, what is it that we can do? Like, somebody is in this young man's corner, telling him, like, you know what, you're making the right decision to be the police. This is a great first step, being a security guard. This is going to get you prepared for the academy. Somebody's telling him that. They got to be, in order for him to even be taking it seriously. And now what does that do for that person who was trying to pump him up? Or the younger teenager that was looking at him like, man, I thought all police was bad, but my homeboy about to be the police and he cool, so this might be okay. And then they see this situation, and now what?
Right.
Like, what's really going to happen? And then when you start thinking about that, then, I mean, because I think about it, and I know in retrospect, all of our white counterparts think of that too. So now for us, like, is a mixture of sadness and anger, though. Mm-hmm. Like, you're sad because you kind of sad that you can't have a relationship with the police, but then you angry that they're not even allowing you to have a relationship. So I can imagine that our white counterparts and even black ones that are, behind that blue code, like, I can imagine what they're going through. So that's probably going to give them even more fear. So for me, I think more fear is going to equal more shit like this happening.
Right.
So, like, how do we stop this shit?
That's the $1 million question, right? You know what I mean?
Dog,
yeah.
I'm trying to tell you. I wish we could come up with an answer during this podcast.
I'm telling you, bro.
So, like, I sell it for $1 million.
Here's my thing too, man. So just like with the old boy in Minnesota, they got shot and killed by the police. What's his name? Philando Castile. Like,
right. Yep.
So this dude is, a registered gun owner, right?
Right.
So the National Rifle Association is supposed to be the advocate of these, like, registered gun owners, these concealed weapons carriers, things like that.
Oh, we about to go a whole other direction with this, huh? Okay.
I would just think, like,
I know where you're going. Where they at, though?
Where they at, though?
Right?
Right? Where they at, though?
Right, I know. Yeah. Where are they? I
had sent y'all something a few days ago, but, like, I sent it to y'all because I had done some reading on it, man. And it's like back when the Black Panthers, back when they was carrying weapons and whatnot and ready to protect the neighborhood and all that. Hey, the NRA was all about gun control then. But now,
right, exactly.
Hey, them niggas are silent, right? So,
yeah, exactly.
And to me, that means this bigger problem, man. Not, you got an issue with the police and the black community and things like that. But then, it bubbles up to, like, is this shit really being, like, is it black people in these communities, are they being hunted? Are they being gunned down? Is it being litigated, like, at the highest levels? Because, like, nothing's happening about it, man. When you get an officer who kills a young black man who's a registered gun owner or a concealed carrier, a weapons holder, and they get gunned down, like, automatically, that advocacy group is supposed to step in and do something. But them cats ain't did shit.
Right.
And they won't do nothing because of, how money changes hands at that level.
Right. I mean, but you're exactly right, though. And that's why I think when you first started bringing it up, I knew which direction you was going, because it's absolutely true. I mean, you got, if you go on YouTube, like, right now, you got militant white people who are willing to, I guess I'll say, quote unquote, risk their lives by walking the streets, open carry with AKs and semi-automatic rifles and everything to prove a point about their right to bear arms. But you got law-abiding black citizens who not even trying to prove a point, and they dying at the hands of the police.
Right.
But these same advocate groups, though, like you said, coming to defend all of these white people who, quote unquote, know their rights. And the gun, like you said, the NRA is totally backing them. Like, you got the right to bear arms and all this. But we need that same firepower behind us, though. I think if we got that same recognition or that same backup from the NRA, we might actually have a different opinion on government. But I think the government always, you know what I'm saying? I hate to say it because I know they listen to everything electronic, but I think the government always has a way to let you know where you are as far as position in this great country of ours. And I know people always say that, I guess we always got some kind of excuse, or we trying to always blame things on other people and circumstances. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not even blaming what we got going on by to the circumstances, but I just want to recognize that they're there. Right. Like, I'm not gonna use them as excuses, but you can't act like they not there though, and that's what pissed me off about people who act like, and some black people included, who think that racism don't exist. Mm-hmm. Like, just because it hasn't affected you, or like maybe it hasn't stopped you from getting to where you need to go, you still have to admit that it's there though. Like, it can be like, dog, in the wintertime, I be coming up with some crazy analogies, but in the wintertime, you can be coming out the driveway and it can be a sheet of ice in the driveway, and you might make it past that sheet of ice. But you still got to recognize that shit is there, dog. Right. And somebody is going to slip and bust their ass on it. It might not be you, but somebody will. So if I'm pointing it out, it don't mean I'm using it as an excuse. I'm just trying to let you motherfuckers know that you need to be on the lookout. And that's all it is when we point out racism. To me, that's what I think it is. But anyway, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked. But I just had to say that shit.
No, you good, bro. I mean, like, cause this is something like, just like everyday type shit, man. Especially for a brother like myself, who, I own a lot of firearms. I carry firearms on me, things like that, where I think about that shit, man. Like, if I'm in a situation, man, and, I get pulled over, the police will show up and whatnot, it's like, damn, are they going to think I'm the good guy? Are they going to think I'm the bad guy? Are they going to think I'm defending myself? If I'm in Florida, am I standing my ground, or wherever that bullshit law there is got called down there? You know what I mean? Right. So, I mean, it's, bro, so a couple weeks ago, I was heading back to Michigan, and I had probably been on the highway for about, 45, 50 minutes. And, I had my firearms in the ride, and I just realized, I was like, damn, I left my wallet on the motherfucking, on the counter back in the kitchen.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, like, all right, I've been on the road for almost an hour now. Should I just go ahead and just knock this off?
I want to go back.
Or do I need to go back and get I was like, no, I need to go back and get my, my credentials, because just because, it's the potential. You never know what's going to happen, man. You know what I mean? And even with your credentials, you still don't know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Man.
And see, that's the things. It's things like that I don't know. I feel like you shouldn't necessarily have to be afraid of. Right. Like, especially somebody who has, again, like, I keep going back to your military background, but especially somebody who has served in the military. I feel like it's, what else do you have to prove to let them know that you're on their side? You should be all right with riding with no ID. You know what I'm saying? Like, they can find out who you are.
Oh yeah,
real quick. Real quick. Mm-hmm. So it's like you would feel like you in a situation where, I mean, not to say that you could be doing anything illegal.
Oh,
but I mean, you feel like you. Oh, I know, right? We got company. Okay.
Oh, straight up, bro. Oh, hello. What up?
We got Dubb just checked in.
Man, I was knocked out. I was sleep waiting.
It's like, wait. I told you 9:30. Right, you know what? I told you 9:30.
9:30 come around, so I was waiting on
that. So anyway, man, you plugging in late. So again, what we're talking about, just to put you up to speed, man. We're talking about, of course, the police shooting down in outside of Chicago. All right, and it involved, you familiar with the story, right? You know what happened?
Yeah.
Okay. right, so yeah, basically we're talking about right now. We talked about that whole situation, but we're just trying to figure out like what's next, because obviously being a security guard or having ambitions of getting into law enforcement still doesn't get you out of the sights of the law enforcement agent of just being a nigga. I mean, basically, I can't really put it no other way. So I think that preconception is what allowed him to come to a venue where the witnesses already, made a statement saying that everybody was screaming, trying to let them know that he's the security guard. Like, don't shoot. First of all, again, before we get into that, the fact that bystanders know or even feel like that they have to let you know that he's a security automatically let you know what we're dealing with. Nobody should have to let you know that he's security when he got a big ass security vest on and shit.
5 security shirt on over his vest.
Right.
That's the easy spot for a well-trained officer.
You breaking up, Dubb? What'd you say?
I said, being a supposedly well-trained officer, he's 6'5", wearing a vest with a security guard shirt over it, and it should be easy to recognize.
It should be pretty obvious. It should be pretty obvious.
It should be.
Security.
Yeah.
All they see is black.
Now, you know what, Dubb? Now, Dubb, before you go any further, dog, I gotta say this because you wasn't on the line earlier when Bo was talking about this, which is something actually pretty disturbing when you think about it. What if we keep talking about them not being trained or not going back on their training when it comes to that? What if this is what they're being trained to do?
What if what? I'm lost there.
I'm saying, what if this is what they're being trained to do? Like, we talk about it being a lack of training as to why they killing, like, shooting these unarmed black people or shooting black people who are in positions of security themselves. If they're doing it, maybe they're not actually acting out of without training. Maybe these are the things that they're being trained to do.
Turks, one made a point, said they're being trained to shoot first, ask questions later, and they basically the old adage of the hood. I'd rather get judged by 12 than carried by 6. You know?
Yeah.
Right. You just said it earlier.
Yep. Like it's how it seemed. Like, hey, if I pull the trigger, nigga might die, but hey, I'll be clear of it. I'm on administrative leave, a couple months, be back at it. If I lose my job, I'll get a job somewhere else. You know, that's how it's been.
And see, I think that's exactly what's happening, man, because they see that when, they may have reservations about that at first, right? But then this happens over and over and over again. And not only do they see these cats not going to jail, they see these cats getting jobs in other departments and still keeping retirement and stuff like that. So like they now they feel emboldened about it. Now they confident about it. Like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and shoot first. I'm just gonna go ahead and if I get fired, I get fired. I'm gonna get picked up at another department or whatnot. And so it's just like
exactly.
I don't get when these type of shootings happen. When these I'm gonna call it what it is. When these murders happen, right? Like, how can another department come and hire somebody that clearly murdered somebody in cold blood?
Right.
If they talk about, and I know we talking about security guard Chicago and whatnot. Like I get that, but you look at certain situations, man, where Eric Garner with cigarettes, and then old boy down in New Orleans that was selling CDs or whatever it is. Like the shit people get killed over is fucking like this mundane shit. But then you got these white dudes. And Don Lemon already said it. The white dudes are white people in this country. White men in this country are the terrorists, really. But then they go out there and they commit all these these fatal shootings and all this good stuff, and they get taken in alive every time, just about, if they don't kill themselves. Exactly. And it makes you scratch your head and like not ask why, because I think we know why. It makes you scratch my head like, what the fuck do I do next? You know what I mean? Like we just talked about a minute ago. Like, what do we do next?
Yeah, what do you do next? Like I said, you got, which is unbelievable all in itself. Again, like I don't mean to make like a big deal out of this, but to me it kind of is a big deal that you got a 26-year-old black male from the Chicago area who's actually interested in being in law enforcement. I know it don't sound like much, but it's a big deal to me though. And then to ruin that by taking his life, like you got to figure that the ones that's coming up beneath him already have a sort of issue with law enforcement, and they may have been kind of like trying to overcome that, but then they get one of their peoples in a situation like this, and it's not good for nobody. It's not good for the black community. It's not good for the police officers because they gonna be more in fear and we gonna be more angry, and like that's not going to end well for either side, you know?
Right.
So like, I mean, it's a crazy thing. Like, I don't think we'll ever get an answer to this though. Like, because what can you do though? I mean, like Dubb, you got any ideas, man? Like, I know obviously we ain't gonna get no final solution on this podcast, but like, you got any ideas what we can kind of do to straighten this thing out between the black community and the police, or is it something even worth working on?
We lose them.
I don't know.
Possibly. I ain't got done, bro.
Yeah, right. He said he got left of that. All right, we'll wait. Maybe he dropped off or something. Yeah, he dropped off.
But I mean,
I don't know, man.
Like, yeah, what do we do next, man? You know, it's gonna take. To me, man, in my opinion, it's gonna take one or two things, right? It's either gonna take, you know, legislation at the highest level, you know, to go through and, you know, and to audit the way these officers are being trained and the way they're being certified and hired and vetted and whatever else. Or two, it's going to take some community action fighting back against these cats, like almost some revolutionary type shit. Like, you know, and that's like the last, is absolutely last resort that, you know, we should rely on. But it's going to take one of those two things for things to change, man. You know, it's not going to be a Facebook post. It's not going to be an Instagram picture. It's not going to be Sean King. You know, it's not going to be Sean King writing his columns. All that shit is well and good, and it brings awareness. But like, especially with the current administration, I mean, what's going to happen, bro? You know? Yeah. I don't know.
You talking about an administration that's similar to, if not identical, to Nixon's administration, which was basically which started the war on drugs, and it's just all about punishment over rehabilitation.
Right.
So it's easy to say, like, yeah, you need to put all the criminals in jail, but then when you make the laws so that a disproportionate amount of those criminals are black Americans, then that's when the shit started going haywire.
Exactly.
And like you said before about the police, it's so much bureaucracy, it's so much politics. Like, I never really understood, and I still don't to the full degree, but I never understood really how much politics is involved in policing. And I didn't never really learn even a tip of that until I started watching The Wire. Like, shout out to The Wire, because it showed you that connection though. It showed you what the police chief and police administration were willing to do in order to get certain like leeway from politicians,
right?
And vice versa. So like it's a I'll give you this if you give me this type of thing at the expense of the community that you policing though.
Exactly.
You know, so like you said, until that part is gone, which obviously as long as it's politics, it never will be gone. But I guess the only thing we can do is try to, I don't know, what can we do? Maybe we need to be in those positions, in those political positions.
I mean, honestly, I think we are. At least I hope. I'm not gonna say I think. I'm gonna say I hope we are starting to see a beginning in that, right? Because if you look at some of the midterm elections here, last week, whenever it was, where, you know, some of these red seats flip blue and all that good stuff. And I'm not even gonna try to get into that whole Republican Democrat thing, you know what I mean? Because I can't stand either one of them, really, right?
Either one. No, exactly right.
Yeah, you know, but starting to see the people that are now winning these elections, at least in, you know, like very diverse communities and Black communities and, you know, Latino communities and whatnot. It's starting to be people from the actual community. You know, not some trust fund baby. You know, not some dude that was, you know, got all this money and whatnot and don't even know what crime looked like. None of that. It's starting to be people from the actual community. Exactly. So, you know, like you know, like old girl from I think her last name's Cortez. You know, she won the house race up in New York. And like, but she is straight from like the neighborhood. You know what I mean? She just got fed up one day and it's like, hey, this is what we need. This is what needs to happen. You know, and I think until something like that really happens, like in our major cities, you know, and it's spread, and you know, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen in the major cities first, because it's not gonna happen in Adrian, Michigan, or nothing like that. You know what I mean?
Right. Shout out to Adrian.
Yeah. So when that happens, man, I think we'll see. At least again, I hope we'll see that tide start to turn. You know, when everyday people start to get in the office, the way it should be anyway. You know, but then again, it's when you throw in all the variables and into, you know, the lobbyists and all these special interest groups and stuff like that, throwing all this money around. You know, people like me, people like you, we don't have the money to go up there and run for office and win. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly. I think definitely that even though lobbyists and all that shit is kind of what we was trying to steer away from because of what it does to government. Right. I think at the end of the day, for us, quite honestly, it's probably the best way to go. Like instead of trying to get in office, we just need to pay these lobbyists to do what we need them to do.
You know,
I don't know. Just something I was thinking about.
Like, I feel that, man. It's just I don't know. I just don't know, like, because at the end of the day, part of the problem. You know, at the end of the day, a lobbyist works for a company, organization, or whatever, and what they want to get done is in the best interest of that company, that organization, that whatever. And so, like, unless that lobbyist comes from the people, unless it comes from the neighborhood, unless it comes from, you know, wherever, I don't know, man. It's going to be like status quo to me. You know, because I mean, the way we look at it, like I've been preaching to y'all, you know, and you know, sometimes I get on my soapbox, I get on my high horse and all that shit, but like, you know, people go to vote and they do that shit, and that's cool, but like they vote and that's it, man. And like I told y'all before, 364 other, you know, days of the year, they don't do shit. You know, so it's like you voting, I get it, but we're not doing nothing else to move the needle at all, man. You know, it's just we voting for Republicans or Democrats, you know, as usual, as we have been doing for the last 40, 50, 60, 70 years. And we all know the definition of insanity. You know, I ain't going to put it out there, but we all know what it
is. Right. Expecting something different to happen every time we doing the same shit.
Yep.
But look, hey, did you know, and this, again, like I said, I always had these weird analogies. Did you know that they made a part 2 to what's the name of that shit? Tales from the Hood.
Yeah, I saw that. I watched that shit the other day, actually.
You watched it?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect, dog. So let's bring these two together. All right. So I really ain't got no comment on most of the stories in there, other than the last one. Obviously, you probably know that the last one was probably the most influential, the one with the biggest mess.
Right.
And that was the one with Emmett Till and all that stuff. So I don't want to ruin it for people who haven't seen it yet. And I ain't gonna lie, the movie started out kind of slow, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, these niggas are good. But then when it got around to that one, I'm like, damn, that shit kind of like, it really got serious for me, though. Like, damn, that's some real shit, because these sacrifices that people made before us for us to advance, and then you got some people who, you know, not really, I ain't gonna say they're taking it for granted, but they not willing to do their sacrifice. And I think that's gonna be my next question as far as going in with what's popping right now, is I think something that you mentioned before about, you know, a lot of things that we could do is gonna be one or the other, you know what I'm saying? But more than likely it may take some sort of, quote unquote revolution. And I guess my question is, with this day and age, this society, this generation that we have, do you think that we as a collective have it in us to make that type of sacrifice that the people before us made, dog?
As a collective.
Yeah, as a collective. Now, see it. You go ahead. But then again, I guess back in the day, it wasn't a collective either.
Yeah.
Like, so they made it seem like it, but it was still individual.
Right. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to say yes for this reason, right? Because, mm-hmm. I know we all know those, certain people who, I don't give a damn what happened, man, as long as I'm, blah, 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 blah. We all know those people, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And you're going to have those people no matter what race you go to. But
right.
Black people as a whole, man, like, first of all, we need to stop being so forgiving, right? And I think once we stop being so forgiving, that yes, I think we do have it in us, right? Because once you stop being so forgiving, that's when you're going to start getting pissed off. You know what I mean? And then that's when you're going to start being like, okay, they going through the same struggles I'm going through. And then naturally, that linkage is going to happen. But what,
right?
I'm not trying to get into all the conspiracy theories, but they throw all this stuff out there about us being so attracted to like money and bling and women and blah 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 blah. And really, what race, what men in any race don't like women? You know what I mean? As a whole, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, right.
Yeah, as a whole, that is right. Right. So and having nice things. It's like everybody likes having that stuff, but people. Yeah. Or I don't want to say people, but like, it's put out there like that's all we think about. That's all like we chase and that's all we want.
Right.
But in actuality, it's not, man. So I honestly think that Black people, we got it in us. I just think I think once we stop being so forgiving, that yes, that shit can happen.
So you think that's the main key, that we're being too forgiving?
I think that's it. I think that's to me, my opinion, my personal opinion is that's the only key, bro. Because, we want to try so hard to be unlike, how we were treated and things like that. We want to be open, we want to be diverse and see all these different views and stuff. And that's cool. If it happens naturally. Yeah, if it happens naturally, man, but not to force that shit. I mean, at some point, it's just, you got to protect your own. Like, I got no problem with, like, a white person that says, hey, I'm proud to be white and blah, blah, blah. And I'm proud of my... Cool. Right. You're supposed to feel that way.
Right.
You know what I mean? No matter what race you are.
Yeah.
But, it's again, and I think I mentioned this before, I think America is selling young Black folks on this notion that, hey, man, it's not about you. It's about this greater good and this melting pot and blah, blah, blah. And some of that is, some of it is true.
Very
the majority of it, yeah. But the majority of it, bro, it's like, it's just a pipe dream, man. It's like they're selling you a false bill of goods.
But then it's what we asked for, though, right? That's what civil rights asked for. It asked for equality, right? I don't
know if that's what we asked for, right? Well, initially, if you go back and you look at the civil rights movement and whatnot, Cass was cool at the beginning, just like to have the separate but equal. But then it turned out and wasn't equal. So then it's like, okay, we got to be with you then. Then we know it's going to be equal if we with you. But I think we've evolved to the point now where we can do our own shit. Like, we've got enough, power behind us to do our own shit where we don't need to always integrate and mingle amongst, other people and whatnot.
So we could basically be separate but equal.
Yeah. I mean, we the only race that don't do it. We are the only race on this planet that does not do that shit. Look at every other race on this planet. Every other race on this planet does that shit, but us.
Right. No, I definitely agree.
And then when we try to get that, they demonize us for it. And it's like, hold up, this is your game, homie. You know what I mean? I'm trying to play. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. So yeah,
exactly.
So that's the way I feel about it.
Yeah. No, and I think you're absolutely right, though. And the thing that you touched on, of course, there about being too easy to forgive. I mean, I guess at what point though do we stop being so forgiving? Like, how many people do have to get killed by the police? Like, how many people do have to like lose their life realistically for just being black? You know, and again, I want to go back to this whole police thing and how all these, I guess we call them mistakes, happen, where they're killing all these black people where they shouldn't be. I guess what I don't understand is how all of these things can happen and over they can be justified and nobody mad but us, though. Like, everybody should be mad. And just like the police should be mad when one of their own go out here and do shit like that, knowing that that's not really what they're supposed to be doing. Like, they should be mad. It's just like, again, I got to take it back to football because I think all that shit is like a team thing. Like, when you got somebody on the team and we all together, like, we got your back like a motherfucker, but at the end of the day, when you do some shit you weren't supposed to do, we mad at your ass and we go check you on that shit. How come?
Exactly.
Why the police don't do that shit? Like, is the blue code that motherfucking strong? Like, you gotta sit down and shut the fuck up? Because are they basically slaves? Are they slaves in their own shit? Like, because if somebody's fucking up, like, dude, I'm gonna check this nigga because I don't want to be out here looking like them. But they don't do that shit. Like, it's like their hands are really tied. Like, that blue code shit must really be that serious.
I think so, man. Because, like, you know, and you're totally right, bro. Like, football, you know, I wasn't the greatest player in the world, but if I see somebody fucking up, and let's say, you know, it's one of the BD cats that's fucking up. Yeah. I mean, I ain't gonna check you. I ain't gonna check you in front of everybody, you know, because we got that mutual respect. But I'm gonna put your ass aside and be like, hey, man, you get your motherfucking shit together. Yeah. Right. Get your shit together, bro.
Right.
You know, so
accountability, dog. That's
exactly.
All. I think that's all we want. I think that's all we want, though. I think that mistakes happen. Some of these mistakes look entirely too suspect, but at the end of the day, some shit does happen. We just want some accountability. Hold somebody accountable for taking lives that they're not supposed to. Just like you said happened in the military, motherfuckers are getting court-martialed. Like, they are being held accountable. So, like, why the police not? I think that's a simple question. I heard, I watched, who was that? It was DL. I've been watching a lot of DL Hughes and shit lately because, like, that's my guy now. I respect him as a radio show personality more than I did a comedian and shit. So I apologize ahead of time. But it was on one of these radio shows. I can't remember the radio show it was. It wasn't his show, but he was on somebody's show. And a dude called in, white guy, who was a retired police officer. And it was like one of the most intriguing conversations I ever heard because it sounded like they had some common ground on some places. But then the police officer just started saying outlandish shit. Like, some of these black people need to learn how to act. You know what? Possibly I just got offended because he was white, because I do agree. Some of these niggas do need to learn how to act. But at the end of the day, how you act, unless you are being completely violent toward the police officer, how you act shouldn't decide whether you go survive a traffic ticket or not. Like, totally if you pull up to some shit and, like, I'm shooting at the police, then I'm probably, like, if you get killed in that process, I can't even be mad at you. If you rushing the police with a pistol, you know what? At the end of the day, I'm shooting a nigga that run up on me with a gun. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I'm not even tripping. But when you getting pulled over for a traffic stop and getting shot in front of your woman and your kid and shit, then that's where there needs to be some checks and balances. But unfortunately, because the blue code is so thick and because the bureaucracy and all that shit tied to police and shit is so thick, that shit like that just gets swept under the rug. And to be completely honest, dog, every time they talk about police killing black people, they always want to back it up or support it with black on black crime. You know what? niggas is getting killed every day in the hood, like in real life. They are. Niggas is dying every day. The shit really need to stop. Like, it is some senseless violence, and all the violence is senseless, but some niggas be putting themselves in positions where you know that you might get killed. And unfortunately, I feel sorry for your people and your moms and all that shit, but unfortunately, sometimes you put yourself in those situations. All that being said, motherfuckers getting killed every day, but in addition to that, niggas is going to jail every day. So all I'm saying is that it's black on black crime, but niggas is going to jail for it. How come ain't nobody going to jail for killing us, though? Like, we going to jail for killing us. Everybody else need to go to jail, too. Shit.
Right.
That's the thing.
I think that's one of the biggest things out there, one of the biggest cop-outs out there that, some white folks have, right?
Black on black crime.
Yeah, that black on black crime. Like,
right.
That's white folks kill white folks kill black folks kill white folks, black folks kill black folks. I mean, that shit been happening since the beginning of the world. You know what I mean? Right. So it just gets amplified more, depending on who does it. I don't know if have you ever seen the newest Purge movie?
No, I didn't see it.
So I don't really want to get in the way, but I got to talk about this one part. So
okay.
The newest Purge movie, it's just one part in there. So they're just, they have the new founding fathers in office, and they thinking about, all right, what are we going to do to decrease the population and blah, 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 blah. We're going to have this purge, and we're going to have it, and we're going to have it set off in all the low income, neighborhoods and whatnot.
Wow.
And so, like, they are actually, like, giving folks these contact lenses that will, like, videotape, all the shit they're going to do during the purge. And at this one part, it's these 3 white dudes that kills this white woman. And like the one guy and the government or whatever he is, he comes, he goes, hey, we got to delete that footage. We can't let that get out. And it's just like, controlling the
real life though.
Yeah.
Real life
But that's like real shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very underrated movie, man. Like, it is exactly what's going on right now. And like watching that movie, like, I had to turn it off halfway through the first time I watched it because I was getting so pissed off.
Yeah,
and I came back.
Really relevant.
Yeah, because it's like it's for real relevant, man. Like,
damn,
they control the narrative. They put out all these false, these false, hey, black folks do this, black folks do that, white folks are so good, blah blah blah, whatever. And people just start really to believe this shit as it's truth, and perception's reality, right? So, and I guess it really does become truth as far as the way people see it. But that shit was so, like, polarizing to me, man. I was just watch that when you get a chance. I'm telling you.
I am, man. And it's all about perspective, though. And the perspective is changed by narratives, like, all the time. And unfortunately, because the information flows so freely, it's easy to be, swayed in one way or other. This is just not. It's not just us, and it's not just our generation too. I mean, just to go back a little further, just like I was, James Baldwin. So, and he was just talking about all the books that he would read, and he was just saying how amazing it is to read so many points of view, and then at the end of the day, start really, really start changing up your viewpoints every time you read a different story. And that's kind of what happened with us. That lets you know if the written word is that powerful, imagine what these visuals are doing to us.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if the written word, like, if you can have your mind dead set on something after you read something, like, yeah, that's how I feel that same way. And then you read another author who got a different point of view and be like, yeah, I feel that too, though, right? So if you can imagine if words, no, I'm serious though, if you can imagine if words can have you doing that, imagine what this visual stimulation is doing, like, because it's so rapid. Like, it's visual stimulation in everything, commercials, ads, on Facebook, everything. Like, so imagine what that's doing when that shit was happening to people just reading books. So this shit is, man, at the end of the day, what you really have to do, I think, at the end of the day, you really have to figure out for yourself what you think the truth is and what direction you need to go. And then you just have to align yourself with those same, around those same people that think along the same wavelength. Because at the end of the day, it's go, I hate to say it, but at the end of the day, it's go kind of be survival of the fittest, bro. Like, it's really go, I think it's really go get to that point where it's just go, I think it's going to have to get bad for real before it can ever turn into something else.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Right.
I agree.
And that's why I think I'm not sure if I was gonna say I'm not even sure if I'm prepared for that. But I think that when you start really looking at the way things are going and then considering kind of like what's unspoken, sort of, but mostly unspoken, of what needs to happen. Like, I think in the back of our heads, we all know that, like, eventually the shit got to hit the fan in order for it to go, like, the way it should be, or to even change. I won't even say to go the way it should, but to change. I think we all know that, but I don't think we all prepared for the, shit to really go to hell in the handbasket, whatever the fucking handbasket is.
No, we
I never understood that shit. Yeah,
I don't think anybody is. You know what I mean? I'm not. Yeah.
Right.
We try to prepare yourself. You think you know what you would do in that situation, but
but you don't.
You don't.
Yeah, you really don't. Hell no, you really don't. Yeah, it's a deep conversation, though. I wish it had been more of us and shit.
Right.
But we go. Let's see. We gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Then we'll go around one last time. I think we lost Dubb and shit already. But just going back to Jamel Roberson and that whole situation in Illinois. I mean, obviously, I think we both probably. Well, I know at least me myself. I don't have no comfort in even thinking that some type of justice will come out of this. Like, I'm hopeful that it will, but I'm doubtful at the same time, just because at the end of the day, man, the police, shit, the American government, the American people, man, have treated me like a bad relationship, dog. Like, you want to keep giving them chances, like, but you're in a fucked up situation, but you want to keep acting like it's better than it is, and it ain't. Like, they just keep proving it. So, like, I'm like a woman scorned, I guess. Like, I really don't see nothing good coming out of this shit, but I'm hopeful, though. I mean, I am hopeful, but I'm doubtful at the same time that any justice will come out of this. I mean, I'm hopeful that it does. And all these witnesses that came forward with those statements, saying how they were screaming about, basically don't shoot him and like he's a good guy. The fact that people have to do that should automatically let you know what the state of America is. Like, just not even looking at the whole situation, just looking at those witnesses who are in the bar screaming and pleading because they know that he goes shoot his ass. Like, That's where we at with it. This is where we are in America, where people have to really, like, I mean, they really was trying to save his life because they knew that the police was going to shoot him. Right. That's fucked up. Like, that part of it by itself, aside from the dude losing his life, aside from all of that shit, the fact that people in their hearts know what it is. As soon as you see a situation, you know that we don't really have a chance. The fact that that is the truth should make it hard for every motherfucker in America to sleep at night. Like, for real. It should.
You're right.
Right. It should. But it don't.
But, you know what I mean? That's all I got to say. But.
Right. Exactly. But. Because it's really don't, man. But, again, like I said, I want to prayers out to the whole Roberson family, dog, and everybody dealing with that situation. All the people who, and not only just the family, but all the people who had to witness that.
For sure.
I think at some point, what's happening. Like, all right, I know the police out here. I know it's some white people in general who know that. Like, damn, it's got to be a fucked up feeling to get pulled over by the police when you black. Like, at some point, you got to be a little compassionate and know that it's a fucked up feeling, or to be confronted by the police and it could be a life or death situation when it shouldn't be. Right. But then to be there and to witness it firsthand. like to witness it, to be on the sidelines trying to save this man's life. You know, after he done saved everybody else's life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he done saved everybody else's life, and now they trying to save his, and they can't. So you know what the helplessness of that feel like?
Exactly.
I hope they know what the helplessness of that feel like, because that's what the helplessness of being black feels like.
Bro.
It's exactly what it feels like.
We ain't got to say nothing else, man. That's what it is right there.
Right.
I mean, that's what
on that note, dog. Right. I think we're going to end it on that.
That's what's up.
No, on that note, man, I want to thank everybody who hung out with us tonight, man, for the Notes from the Negro Section podcast. I know we've been going for a long time. We're going to do better at this. It might just be the dynamic duo from this point forward. I don't even know, but we're going to get better at this stuff. Shout out to my man, Dubb, for trying to get back in there. It was cool, man. We're going to make sure we get everybody included next time. But make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. That's at E-Block Radio. That's going to be on there. Also, our Instagram page is going to be Notes from the Negro Section on there. Make sure you hit us up on there. We got to start posting more on that too. So I know you holding it down on Facebook though, Bo. You holding it down though. I gotta do better on Instagram. Yeah, you holding it down. But to the next time, man, you already know what it is, dog. It's Notes from the Negro Section. I got my man Bo in the building.
What up? What up?
And of course, man, it's your boy Q.Lewis, man, holding it down live from the 48205, man. We about this thing. Peace out, y'all.
I'll be easy.
Hold up.